Not everybody is built for a position of power. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today I want to talk about how poisonous power can be. I'm going to talk about two dudes. I believe I know for a fact one of them I did a couple videos on. I think the other guy I did a video on as well. But for those that don't go and look through the back catalog, I want to talk about these two people. I may even throw in a third. So I remember being in Pelican Bay Shoe, and it was almost, I was a few months away, maybe 3 months away from being released from Pelican Bay Shoe. And I met this guy. He's an older dude, kind of big dude. And when I met him, super humble guy, really cool dude. And, we chopped it up for a minute talking. It was on a medical run, right? We went down to the CTC, and then it was one of those occasions, those of you that been to the Bay, been to the Shoe, they take you in a golf cart from the Shoe, they drive you down to the CTC, and later in the day, they may, instead of just going back and forth in the golf carts, they'll chain a bunch of us up, 6 of us on a chain, and they walk us from there all the way back to the Shoe, which for us is fine. We get a little sunshine on the walk. Well, this was one of those occasions. And so, I'm talking to the guy, and he's cool, and go back to the unit, and there it is there. Like I said, a few months later, I get out, and I go to B facility, B yard, right? And guess who I see? The same guy. Only he's no longer humble. He's arrogant. He's an asshole. And the reason why is he had become the llavero. When he got out of the Shoe and hit B facility, it was during a moment where nobody had the authority on the yard to represent the legends, right? And so he got a response faster than a couple other dudes that were trying to do the same thing. And this was during a time when it was still the llavero, one dude, right? So he got the keys. And he went from being that humble dude to just somebody that nobody on the yard liked. Nobody on the yard wanted to be around. And me being the person that I was, he had ignored me on an occasion, which is fine. I don't need to be your friend. We're doing time, right? But he did that, and it was like, okay, cool. What was that for? I don't know. Is it because I remember how humble you were in the Shoe? Whatever his reasonings were, those were his reasonings. But later I was talking to somebody, and he walked up to that person, and he said something about the arrogance of some people. And I knew he was directing it at me. And I told him, what's funny, Holmes, because I met you in the Shoe. Remember we're in the CTC? Remember how humble you were? I said, look at you now. Something along those lines. But I let him know. I could give a damn about your position on this yard. You ain't no better than me. You just got more headaches. And when I tell you that he had, I believe it was him and 5 homeboys of his from his barrio on that yard, and that none of his own homeboys liked him, that tells you a lot. Some people, and Wes Watson is one of those people. Some people I don't know what went on in their lives, in their childhoods, in their prison careers. But obviously, something happens to some people and they develop insecurities that they try their hardest to hide. And for the most part, those insecurities will stay hidden. But when you give those guys power, their insecurities take over. And they form some weird, tyrant like, egotistical maniac. And somebody sure of themselves is never going to turn into that. Like, homie, yesterday you were cool as fuck. Then you got your mail and you got a response. And now you're this guy? From one day to the next? And then the other guy that I've done videos on, and I was thinking about him, man. When I met the guy, I met him in New Folsom, C facility. Again, this dude was a humble dude, man. And I took a liking to him. And I didn't know him, but he knew who I was. And he made that clear when I got there. Hey, I know who you are. We knew you were coming. My Sally was so-and-so, and he was told you were on your way, this and this and that. Whoop. And like I said, I took a liking to the guy. He was humble. He was cool. He was smart. And so, I took him in and, I've told the story about C-Yard. I told the story several times about having to strip that guy who had authority on the yard, to strip him of his responsibilities, basically put him in a corner and tell him, hey, just do your time, homie, you're good. And that homie that I'm talking about, I brought him along with me. And I opened up an opportunity for him to be in touch with somebody and look out for them, and they'd look out for him. And I remember within days, man, people pulling me to the side and they're asking me, man, homie, why did you plug that guy in? And I'm like, why? What's wrong with him? And they all said the same thing. He's a fucking bully. He turned into a bully. And I couldn't wrap my head around it because I'm like, we're all men here. How is another man gonna bully you? I don't get it. And initially with me, he was still the same. But as the weeks and months roll by, I saw it. I saw him trying to figure out a way to plot against me. The person that gave him an avenue to be recognized as somebody, I'll just say that, right? We're all nobodies. We just had more responsibilities. But I don't know what it was with him. Like, I never could figure it out. When I would see dudes that were cool and then they'd get some kind of authority and then they would turn into tyrants. It's like, what's going on in that Vato's head? What's going on in that guy's life or his childhood? What happened to that guy, Holmes? You were like cool. You were just cool, right? But the second guy, and I know some of you that have been following my channel, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I don't want to I don't want to say the name because he has family, but eventually his life was taken in a day room in the California Department of Corrections. And his life was taken after he was involved in taking a lot of people's lives. And I'm not a fool. And I'm not an egomaniac to think, man, if I wouldn't have plugged him in, maybe he'd still be alive. Maybe all those other people would still be alive. No. Because somewhere, someone at some time would have pulled him in and be like, hey, homie, I'm going to plug you in, eh? You got a decent head on your shoulders. You know how to make money. You handle business. So he would have been recognized by someone else, and they would have done the same thing. You just open the door for people sometimes, right? They go through that door and they do whatever they do. But with that individual, something went on with that guy to make him a monster. Like, the first guy was never really a monster. He was just an asshole. But the second guy destroyed families, destroyed lives, and then lost his own because of it. I'm telling you, power is poison. For those that have things in their past, things in their minds, things in their hearts that they've never settled with, they've never come to terms with, when they get a little power over other people, they're the worst bosses. They're the worst homies. You know, I hear people out here when they talk about their bosses or they get a new boss and it's somebody, you know, and you know, the same things that people deal with out here, not all the same things, but when it comes to like the workplace, people in prison deal with it too. Except out here, you might have to go to HR. You might have to file a lawsuit. HR in prison is going to be different. And the lawsuit, it ain't with the courts. Not the courts out here. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about that. You know, I did a video on my other channel about the deposition of Wes Watson. I've now been able to see some more stuff, so I may do something else over there. But, you know, thinking about the guy that lost his life in the day room because of his tyranny, that coupled with the deposition of Wes Watson, it made me want to do this video, man. It may not be as interesting to other people as it is to me, but in prison you learn to people watch, to read people very fast. I can't say that I read these dudes wrong, both of them, because I didn't have enough information. We never do, though, when it comes to people with internal demons, right? That's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.